All right. Hello, everyone. It's 2:02, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of material to cover. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Eddie Landeros. I'm an assistant professor with San Diego Mesa College in the School of Business and Technology. I teach business and accounting courses. I also teach part-time at Southwestern College. So, and I'm also the faculty lead for entrepreneurship in the entrepreneurship program and the real estate program at Mesa College. So those are my two babies at Mesa College. So one of the things that we do for the entrepreneurship program is we put together these types of events, usually one or two every semester. We used to do them on campus, but because of COVID, because of the pandemic, we're now doing them via Zoom. So usually we invite a business owner to come to Mesa College and sort of talk about their journey, talk about what are some of the challenges that they face when they started a business or in operating their business, what they expect to do to grow the business and things like that. But this event, I did a little bit different because a lot of students that take business courses and I also teach Introduction to Entrepreneurship. A lot of students that take that course are always interested in, what are some of the resources that are out there that can help them succeed and help them start, their own business. In my career, I've been exposed to a lot of these organizations. I worked, one of my first jobs out of college was for the San Diego County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And for those of you that do not know what a Chamber of Commerce does, it's a nonprofit organization that usually advocates and lobbies for small business owners. Sometimes it's a geographic area, sometimes it could be like the Santee Chamber of Commerce or the Chula Vista Chamber of Commerce, or sometimes it's ethnic. You'll see like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or the Black Chamber of Commerce or the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And then there's regional, there's state, there's national chambers. So in working in that organization, I got to learn or get to know a lot of organizations that operate in San Diego that help small businesses. I mean, again, these are nonprofits whose mission is solely to help small businesses in the region. So, and a lot of people don't know that these resources exist. One of the reasons why I teach is because of the Small Business Development Center. I started doing workshops for the Small Business Development Center back in 2008, I want to say. And I started slowly, appreciating that, being in front of a group, teaching a group of individuals how to start their business, how to market their business, and so forth. And slowly I started teaching at Southwestern, and then eventually, became full-time here at Mesa. So, so with that, I'm very excited, again, to introduce my next panelist. We have 4 different panelists today. We have Joel Cedeno, who's going to talk about the Small Business Center. We have Alex Waters, who's going to talk about Connect All, an incubator here in San Diego. We have Robert Lopez, who's going to talk about access to capital, business loans here in San Diego. And then we have Miriam Torres with CDC Small Business Finance. So I'm going to go ahead, again, in the interest of time, everybody's going to have like 10 to 15 minutes to talk about their programs, talk about their organization, and then we'll leave Q&A towards the end of the event. For those of you that attended and that are part of my class and are getting extra credit, make sure you stay on through the whole event because we keep track of who logs in and who logs out and so forth. So welcome everyone. Thank you for participating in this event. We're very excited. I'm gonna get started with Joel. Joel Cedeno, I'm just gonna read your bio. Joel Cedeno is a senior business advisor at the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC. Mr. Cedeno is part of a team of consultants who provide free counseling services to entrepreneurs in the business community in San Diego. Before working as a business advisor for the SBDC, Joel worked as an independent financial analyst, assisting various companies with access to capital and business expansion matters in various markets. In addition, Joel worked as an adjunct instructor and financial and economic advisor for various higher education institutions. Joel holds a master's in science and finance, as well as a master's in science in information and technology systems. Joel, welcome. How are you? Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. It sounds very intimidating once you read it. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And everybody else, thank you for having me. Like Eddie says, my name is Joel Cedeno. I'm a business advisor for the Small Business Development Center. The Small Business Development Center stands for SBDC, and it was created about 40 years ago by the SBA. The purpose of the creation of this particular entity is to ensure that people who wants to get into the business sectors has access to information. So the SBDC was created to do that, to provide all the aspects of the business. So whether you are somebody who already established a business, somebody who's about to start a business, somebody who needs expansion and beyond, the Small Business Development Center can assist you with that. I'm one of the many team members, that will provide you free assistance to you. Some of the services that we provide are going to be between access to capital, accounting, angel venture capital, a business plan if you don't have one, cybersecurity, franchising, financial reporting, how to buy a business, how to sell a business, and pretty much all the aspects of the business. Like I said, whether you're somebody who has a brilliant idea and you don't know how to go about it, or somebody who is it's some ups and pops and is trying to figure out how to make things work in this new environment. So when you come to us, you're going to get somebody like myself who has experience in the field. And we have various aspects of advising throughout the SBDC. In San Diego County, we have 8 locations. Within each location, we have expertise with each advisor that can assist you with that. We have also places where you can come in and help you and to develop that idea, put them into a business plan. Because we have a lot of clients that they have these fantastic ideas and it sounds amazing, and you're going to grab that idea and you're going to make billions upon billions of dollars. But then once you put it on paper, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I think I need to do a little more research on what I need to do to make that happen. And so that's one of the aspects that we can help you with. We help you with assistance and advising into opening to make sure that that business, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's open a place and actually physical place, you have all the permits that are required either by the city, the state, or federal in case you need to do that. And like I said, we have a very range of services that we can provide you. I'm going to go ahead and post on the chat. I think I want to give it to Sean. Some of the services that we that we offer. I strongly encourage you to do that. Once again, the services are free of charge to you. All you have to do is make sure you're registered through us, and we can go ahead and take care of you that particular way. We are open, and we're hosted by various entities throughout the county. I do apologize, I have a little mild cold, so kind of starting a little bit. So we have different locations, and you find the ones that is closest to you, or find the one that is closest to you for your business needs. Once again, approach to us. Don't be intimidated. It's free of charge, and you're gonna get people who has a very their high skills in their fields, and they can assist you with pretty much all the aspects. And if they don't know, they can definitely guide you in where you can go and get that information. So, excuse me for a second. Besides that, other than that, other things that we have, it is important. Oh, excuse me, I almost forgot. We since we're funded by the SBA and the state and the local governments, we have a non-disclosure agreement. That's a key part when you come and talk to us about your idea, the patent you're about to file, or about your business in general. We're not allowed to speak of that to anyone else without your verbal or written consent. So I think that's something you guys need to know. And I want to emphasize that you are never too young and never too old to start a business. So if your heart is in that, please come and talk to us. And we make sure that we provide you with the right idea, the right assistance, excuse me, to make sure that idea grows to what you need to be. Eddie?
Thank you, Joel. So yeah, thanks for all that information. One of the things that that I love about the center, and it's the fact that it's free. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that you know, when I started my first business back in, I'm gonna tell everybody my age, but back in 2004, give or take, I started my first business, and one of the first things that I did was to go to the Small Business Development Center. At that time, there was only two. There was one at Southwestern College and another one at Maricosta College, and you know, they helped me a lot. You know, I was really very green in the business arena. So I needed to know about licenses. I needed to know about permits. I needed to know, what are some of the things that we can do to find capital, to get money, to start the business, patents, licenses, all that stuff. So I also have, and I'm a little biased too, because I'm also a consultant at the Small Business Development Center. I mostly do their credit repair workshops and credit repair consulting. But I also help a lot of people with access to capital and SBA funding and all that stuff. But it's a great center. Joe, how many consultants are there per center on average?
Thank you for enhancing that. We have it depends by the center, but usually it's about 4 to 8 consultants with people also working administrative. So we're pretty well staffed. And Eddie is correct when it comes to that. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushed through that because there's a lot of information coming through. But let me quickly tell you about a client that I'm currently helping. When she came over to me, she is from Minneapolis. She has a small corporation over there, and she found out that her market is here in San Diego. And she said, Joel, I need assistance. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I need to do to bring that small company that I have from Minneapolis, I think, or Minnesota, into California. On top of that, I need to hire new people. I need to make sure that I got the required permits. And working with her, I help her to leave the company the way it was in Minnesota, I believe it was Minnesota, to work with all the required documentation in California, which is not that difficult, but you need to know where to go. On top of that, we find out that the location where she was about to open the business, it's a developing a small entity qualified by the SBA for extra landing. So we were able to tell her, hey, not only you can come and do this where your market is, but you can hire people for a particular area, and you will have easy accessibility to capital. And we work with the CDC, which I believe we have a member here, and help us to get some of those programs for this particular client. So we also help her to well, she said, you know what, Joel, in Minnesota, we have different ways of how we hire people. In California, we hear there's other unique, and I tried to do it, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or wrong. So I was able to get her assistance with that. Right now, currently, she has about 14 employees. She develops a specialty products for the military, and she was able to get assistance and to develop this small company that she had in Minnesota. I don't know why you can say Minneapolis, but Minnesota into San Diego. And so these are some of the things that we can do for you guys. I had another client that she said, you know what, Joel, I love making this little dessert. Like, it was little tiny dessert, and I don't know how to go about it. I don't know what to do. I love it. I have all the stuff in my kitchen. We recently closed a loan for her after the pandemic, in which she not only is making this little dessert, but she's actually producing it in a large amount. And she went from, I think it was almost she started in 2019, her idea, 2020 kind of washed it off. in 2021, she kind of came back to it. But now she closed the contract with a manufacturer up in, I believe it's Riverside, in which she's going to manufacture these little candies, really good. But we were able to help her with the steps, process, and procedures to open that company to see which was the best way for this particular client. We help her to do a financial analysis to see how much money capital you're going to be needing to bring that product to a certain market and how you're going to do the expansion. Her total investment was minimal. I think she started with, I don't know, I think it was like a $5,000 or less, and she borrowed that money from her husband, I believe. But she was able to do all these things. But as you can see, when you open a business, she had no idea how to do a business plan. She has no idea who to sell, how to sell it. She had no idea how to get capital. And right now, we're still working with her because we want her to not only expand in the southern area, which is Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada, but we want her to expand further and beyond. I wish, I don't remember the name of the company. Once I get permission, like I said, we cannot disclose information, but see if I can send that particular product. So things of that nature, we can truly help you to get to those places.
Nice.
Ready?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. So I mean, the big takeaway here is that if you're interested in opening a business or would like to, to get some professional advice on how to grow your business, the Small Business Development Center is a great place to start. Aside from the Small Business Development Center, where they're located at Southwestern College, there's also PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which is also sponsored by the SBA. And for those of you that do not know what the SBA is, the SBA is the Small Business Administration. It's a government agency whose sole purpose is to help small businesses when it comes to capital, business loans, things like that. But they also finance all these types of organizations. But PTAC is also a great center if you're interested in doing business with the government, with public entities. The city of San Diego, the county of San Diego, the port, schools like San Diego Community College District, San Diego State. These are all public entities, and they purchase goods and services. So if any of you are interested in doing business with those entities, that's also a great place to start. Where the SBDC is housed, it's also home for the international. Remind me, Joel, is the
is International Trade of Commerce, something along those lines?
Yeah, so it's a state-funded organization that helps people with international commerce. If you're interested in import, export, taking your products to other countries and things like that, they can help you. So thank you, Joel, for your time.
I want to finalize that if you don't mind, because this is also, I feel it is important. Because the SBDC covers such a wide area and we do so much, please be aware that we're an advising entity. So we work with everybody. So it will be like an extra arm for you guys to say, hey, don't look at this way, look at that way, or you need to go here or need to go there. So every single panelist that is in here, we love working with them. So we will help you to reach that particular goal, whatever goal that might be. So I just want to close it up with that.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Appreciate your time. If anybody has any questions, again, we'll leave towards the end for students and people to ask questions. All right, thanks, Joel. Our next panelist is Alex Waters. Welcome, Alex. I'll just read his bio real quick. He is the director at the Jacobs Center for Neighborhood Innovation. Mr. Water is responsible for Connect All, the region's first low to moderate income and diversity focused accelerator program and business resource center. After spending nearly a decade at a high growth ed tech startup managing global teams, he understands what it takes to innovate, create effective systems for scaling rapidly, and create collaborative relationships. He specializes in connecting startup founders with the resources needed to ensure that their business idea, confidence, and investments lead to results. Alex holds a BA in philosophy from the University of Maryland, College Park, and a master's in philosophy from San Diego State University. Alex, welcome. Why don't you tell us about your programs and how you can help small businesses?
Awesome. Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to chat a little bit about what we do. I'd have to agree that it sounds a little odd when you're like listening to someone rattle off some of the stuff that you've sort of done in the past. It's kind of a little odd feeling. So basically, what we do at Connect All the Jacob Center is we focus on helping businesses that are really at these sort of earlier phases of developing their business to get more of a solid foundation in a shorter period of time so that they can continue to grow and move on to sort of whether it's other programs or just expanding their business as a whole. So we were funded through the city of San Diego and through some monies through the Department of Housing and Urban Development to kind of test out to say, hey, well, traditionally you have accelerator programs that come from kind of the tech space, right? Like for most folks, if they've heard about accelerators, it's normally in sort of this technical capacity, the Y Combinators, the Techstars, 500 startups, and recently much more, you've started to see this kind of model applied to what we would call more traditional businesses, right? Whether that's sort of restaurants, or you're seeing it now happen in a lot of consumer goods spaces. And so with that, basically we take that kind of same approach and go through about 4 months full of workshops, trainings, mentorship, connectivity as a part of sort of a community to help people, like I said, build sort of that solid foundation so that they can then grow and continue to sort of scale. And we cover a few things. We partner with quite a few different organizations to help people afterwards. So we only focus on early stage. So you started something, you got something going. You don't necessarily have to have revenue or profit, but you've put in some work to build something. We've had companies, everything from like a drone advertising company to a commercial sort of retail to architecture to professional services, STEM education, all these different kinds of things. And so a lot of times people will say, well, how does that actually work when you blend together and have a program that is going to help all these different kinds of businesses in the same area? And what I say is that we focus on sort of the foundational parts across 4 sort of pillars. So we do a lot of sort of lean customer discovery, lean startup methodology. We focus on financials, sales, and marketing. And that's kind of our wheelhouse. We understand that there are other areas in terms of legal and HR and different kinds of stuff like that. But we know that there are experts that could do more and a better opportunity to be able to help people with those things. We certainly have people come in and talk about those. But what I found with a lot of entrepreneurs is people, they start the business day one and then, they're kind of jumping to the end of like, well, what does it look like when I hire 10 people? It's like, why don't we focus first on making some money, getting the business sustainable, and then we can kind of tackle that challenge as it comes along down the line. So in addition to the workshops, we also provide a physical workspace. So we're located at the Jacob Center for Neighborhood Innovation. We have about 4,300 square feet of space. And so teams are actually able to come in and work out of the space once they're a part of the Accelerator program and as a part of the cohort. And then we also work with mentors. So we pair teams up with individuals that can help them, that are somewhat subject matter experts. And one of the differentiating things that I will say that I think is really important for our mentors, we really focus on having them help people understand how to make decisions and how to sort of focus on the challenge that comes up, right? And so it isn't just about solving the thing for today. It's like, how do you think through business problems and business challenges? Because as a business owner, your life is going to be a lot of different business challenges. I tell the entrepreneurs all the time, if you wake up one day as a business owner and there is nothing that you need to do and there's no challenge that you have, you are probably in a lot of trouble, right? Like that's not actually a good sign. That's actually a terrible sign that things are not happening and there's no sort of fires to put out or anything like that. So taking that as kind of an opportunity to kind of think through what it works like with the mentors. And then, we worked with actually everyone, sort of different organizations that are on the panel right now, whether it's referring them for resources, for loans, for different kinds of things. because we want to make sure that people have access and opportunity to continue to kind of grow their businesses. In addition to that, so that's one part, the Accelerator program. The second part is our Business Resource Center, which is very much similar to what organizations like the SBDC do. So people can come in and we work with them, we do some assessments. And a lot of times we partner with entities like the SBDC to say, hey, if you need to go do a workshop, you should go over here. Or hey, if you need something else, you should try to find this resource at a different place. And yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of what we focus on. There are a lot of incubators and accelerators around town. I like to say there are, tons of opportunities out there. Toward the end, I'm happy to answer any questions just generally about accelerators or incubators, but I do think that find something that works well for you. Find a program that really fits your needs. We really try to focus a lot on community. We have cohort mixers and try to connect people to others who are also along the same journey. So it's awesome that you all are sort of here and connected and hopefully stay connected with each other, because that's really important as you're kind of going along your journey. So I think that's kind of it for me. I can't think of anything else. It's kind of just an overview of the program.
Alex, and if a student is interested in participating in your cohorts, like what's the process?
Yeah, so basically we have an application and then the link down there, connectallsd.org. When we open applications, they can go and then you apply. And then we actually have, so just to kind of lay it out, there's a few different things. So we have the first part is application. Then we go to the second round and we'll have like actual in-person interviews with people, and in person or on Zoom, just to kind of get to know them and see, okay, well, what's going on? What are your kind of thoughts about different kinds of things? And then we have panel reviews. Which is not myself or any of the other CAJC staff, but individuals who work with community organizations, individuals who have been entrepreneurs, individuals that are representative of just the community as a whole. People will pitch for about 5 minutes and then answer about 10 minutes of Q&A. And so we take all three of those parts and then we determine sort of what the companies are that are seem like they will be a good fit and we can help them with where they are in the process.
Kind of like the Shark Tank?
Well, so I always like to say it's like the anti-Shark Tank because we like to use it as a learning experience, right? Like not everyone is pitched in front of people. Not everyone sort of has things. There is no yelling. Nobody's telling people that they should close and fold their business and never do anything. So we don't do anything like that. It is really, like I said, kind of an opportunity for people to learn. But I'm sure, as you would attest to, and some of the other folks here, it's important to be able to articulate what you plan on doing, what your vision is, what you're thinking about for your business, even if you don't have all of the concrete numbers in place. And so that's kind of what we look for from folks.
Great. Thank you, Alex, for the explanation. And again, we'll leave some time at the end of the event for Q&A. Thank you, Alex. I'll go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Miriam. Hi, Miriam. How are you? Miriam Torres, she's a senior loan officer at CDC Small Business Finance. Miriam has over 18 years of experience in the finance industry. She is committed to supporting small businesses and contributing to the economic development in San Diego. She's an expert in lending and credit and has worked in various capacities such as underwriter, business relationship manager, and marketing and public relations director. Miriam is a finance committee member with the South County Economic Development Council, and she's on the leadership team with Sister Cities Projects. Miriam is also on the board of the Angels Foster Family Network, and she's an elected graduate of the San Diego Mana Latina Leadership Program. So one of the questions that I get often is, I have a good idea. I have all these things that I want to do, but I need money. Where can I get money? I spent a few years working in the banking industry, and I can tell you, if you are a startup, if you're starting a business, you're 99.9% sure that you're not going to get a loan with a bank, a traditional bank. And when I say traditional bank, I'm talking about the Wells Fargos, the B of A's, even credit unions, Navy Federal, California Coast, all those entities consider startup businesses as very high risk projects. So they usually do not fund anybody who's starting their business. They usually want to see at least 3 years worth of financial statements, 3 years of history, so that they can see trends, so that they can really make sure that the business is doing well. But there are other organizations, other entities that are considered alternative lenders in the market, and one of those is CDC, Small Business Finance. And Miriam is here representing that organization. Miriam, can you tell us about the organization, what you guys do, and how you can help small businesses? I can't hear you. You're on mute. No. It doesn't seem like you're on mute. So I wonder why.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
Oh, thank you. Good. Okay. So CDC, Small Business Finance, does not stand for Center Disease Control. With everything going on, I just wanted to clarify that. So it actually stands for Certified Development Company. And what that means is that we are certified to do SBA loans. So, Eddie explained to us what SBA means, right? So Small Business Administration. So SBA typically does not give the funds themselves for SBA loans. What they do is they use lenders. So it could be Chase, B of A, or somebody like us that is certified to do SBA loans. And what SBA does is they guarantee the loans. So for example, if someone wants to start a business and the business fails, SBA says, hey, I know this is a startup, it's risky, but go ahead and do the loan. I guarantee 80% or 90% of the loan amount if the client's business defaults, the loan defaults. That being said, that doesn't mean that the borrower is not responsible for that money. It just means that us as a lender, with having that SBA guarantee and backups gives us a little bit more confidence to go ahead and lend to, startup businesses per se. So there's also the same thing with state guarantees as well, right? And we use those as well. So we are a 40-year-old company, 40-plus-year-old company. We're a nonprofit lender. As Eddie mentioned, we are an alternative lender. And I was also in the banking industry for a very long time. And as Eddie put it, I mean, really, you have to come to the bank and not really need the money to get a loan. And you need to be established for 3 years, and your revenue and your net income needs to be, profitable and going on an upward trend. And there's many, many other rules and guidelines. And so I think what differentiates us about CDC is that we don't focus on all of those rules. We focus on, does it make sense to be able to lend to you, right? So that can mean you come to us in the startup phase. So we have many clients that come to us that have been working with SBDC, or they've been working with the Jacob Center, or they've been working with SCORE, and they're formulating an idea, or maybe they're in 6 months into their business or whatever it might be. So those are a lot of the clients that we help. Like, you're just working on your business plan and projections, and you want to get your business going. We can help you there. You come in 6 months or a year of once your business is operating, we can also help you there as well. As long as clients, we also help clients that have existing businesses, and then also clients that want to purchase maybe a franchise, or not a franchise, but they want to purchase an existing business. Those are the kinds of clients that we help. We really pride ourselves in having, reasonable rates and terms. We can't be as competitive as a bank because we're taking more of a risk than they are, but our interest rates are very favorable. We have some programs that are in the 5%, and the highest that will go is the 8%. Our terms go anywhere from 6 years to 10 years. We do not have a prepayment penalty on any of our loans because, if you can pay us off in 3 years, great. What's really nice about our loans is that even if you were able to, like if you're an established company, let's say, and you go to a bank and get a business loan, you're still going to have like maybe a 3 or 4 year term max. And so our 10-year term just means that your payment is really small. Even though traditionally our borrowers tend to pay us off in about 3 years, it's just kind of it's not an extra stressor, and it helps with cash flow and really helps those, smaller businesses that we're looking to help, those younger businesses. Our minimum credit score is a lot lower than a bank as well. So it's a 620 minimum credit score. Depending on the loan size, you can have a bankruptcy that's just 3 years old. If you want a larger loan, your bankruptcy is going to need to be at least 10 years old. And something that, I just want to clarify to everybody is that, Eddie picked like the perfect team here, the perfect resources for you guys, because we all know each other. We all work together really well. I mean, I've funded loans that the Jacob Center has sent to me, referrals that SS City used to be Acciona sent to me. Small business development actually recently sent me a client that actually, unfortunately, had lost her husband during COVID, found herself in a situation where now she needed to be the full provider for her home. And she had worked at a postal annex for 13 plus years. And so circumstances being in 2020 kind of forced her to get a little bit of courage to see if she could acquire this business where she had worked at, forever. And along with the Women's Center and the Small Business Development Center, we were able to work together and help her to purchase her first business. And it's super exciting. She's a Hispanic woman. And, those are the kinds of stories that, you team up with one of us. If we can't help you, Accessity, Robert's team sends me clients all the time that they can't help. I send them, on a weekly basis, at least 5 people that I can't help. So we all work together. We're all, pretty tight-knit community. And, some of the focus, other than doing small business loans at CDC, we really focus on helping small business owners that are located in low or moderate income areas. If you're African American, if you're Hispanic, if you're a veteran, these are all things that, we have besides our SBA program. We have another loan program that would be able to help you even further, maybe make further exceptions if you fall into any of those categories. So that's what we're about. Our loan size is anywhere from 20,000 to 250,000. I know that Sean put up our website of CDC up on the chat area. So you can always, pull up our website and you can look me up by loan officer, and you can email me directly with any questions or set up an appointment with me. As far as in how I work in helping my clients, I do not like wasting people's time. I know the small business owners are very, very busy, whether you're in the startup phase or at you're a 3-year-old company, or you're busy, right? Trying to juggle family and business and all of that kind of stuff. So I always like to have an initial conversation, 15, 20 minutes of your time, just to ask some fundamental questions for us. Every lender has their own appetite, but there are some things that we look out for. And if you're a good fit, then I send you an application. And if not, it's likely I send you to someone on this panel, or somewhere else where you might be, a better fit. So, and also my clients know this all the time. Sometimes I work with clients for 3, 6 months, even a year, with the help of Jacob Center or the help of the Small Business Development Center or SCORE. And then finally, we're able to get them a loan, right? So I always say, it's very rare that I find a borrower that I absolutely can't help or find a home for. Normally, it's okay, if it's a no right now, why don't you go back to the Jacob Center or whatever it might be. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers what we do at CDC.
Thank you, Miriam. And it takes money to make money, right? So I'm a big fan of CDC as well. I've worked with them for about 10 years now. I'm actually a consultant with them now. I work with a lot of borrowers who need help with their financial projections, or need help with credit repair, or need help with their business plan and so forth. So I usually step in and help them. But like Miriam said, it's a community, right? So it's a group of individuals who, we all work for nonprofit organizations. So the objective is to help that business owner. We're not competing like when you're in the banking world, right? You work for a bank, let's say Bank of America, you're competing with others. You're competing with other bankers from Chase or other bankers from Wells Fargo. But I don't think that's the case in this group or any other nonprofit that is around. So thank you, Miriam, for that. Our next guest is Robert Lopez. Robert is with Accessity. He is the Chief Credit and Operating Officer at Accessity. Mr. Lopez is responsible for lending, staff supervision and training, program development, underwriting, loan portfolio quality, compliance management, loss mitigation, recovery, and operational efficiency. Lopez received a BA in Urban Studies with an emphasis in public administration from the San Diego State University and has a Master's of Public Administration also from San Diego State. He has 15 years of experience in small business banking and lending and is bilingual in English and Spanish. Mr. Lopez was awarded the 2013 Community Service SBA Award and the 2020 Financial Services Champion of the Year Award from the SBA. Accessity, which was formerly Acción San Diego, they're also an alternative lender. I'll let Robert talk about their programs and so forth. But I'm also a big fan of Acción, of Accessity, because they gave me my first loan when I opened my own business. So I'll be forever grateful for that. And Robert, can you talk about the programs and your organization and so forth?
Yeah, I love how you're involved in every one of these organizations.
I know, right?
In some sort of way, right? And then Alex and Miriam are like clapping, cheering me on. I love the energy. It's amazing. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad that that you've been able to join this group, and it is a great group. I mean, like Miriam said, we do all work very closely together. We're all interconnected because we work kind of with the same population and trying to find ways to help the entrepreneur. That's really the bottom line of all of our missions and all of our goals, is to find a way to make that entrepreneur successful. And as you know, the entrepreneurship sort of life cycle is super important because it reaches so many aspects of our communities, right? I mean, you're creating jobs not only for that entrepreneur, but the people that they're eventually going to be hiring. You're creating tax revenue for the communities that you're serving within. You're creating new experiences, new options for those communities. And so entrepreneurship just goes a very, very long way, and it's a very long reach. The other aspect that's super important is that, the more tax revenue you have in your communities, the more that actually goes to other parts of the community, right? Tax revenue goes to schools, right? So it's no surprise that low-income neighborhoods have not so great performing schools because they have less money and less resources to spend and whatnot. And so, this reverberates across so many different segments. And to me, entrepreneurship is what makes America great. It's the one thing that is equal across the board, right? I could either have a doctorate or have no high school diploma and be a successful entrepreneur, right? I could come from a broken family. I could come from low income and be a successful entrepreneur. It's really up to the individual and how much grit and how much passion they have for what they're going to do. But I will say it's not easy. Being an entrepreneur is not easy at all. You have to really want it. You have to really put the effort that it takes to be successful. And this is not a 9-to-5 job at all. This is an ongoing sort of passion project that you have to be able to live and breathe on an ongoing basis. And hopefully the end results are that you make it to a point where maybe you don't have to work as much, right? And other folks could run your company, but it becomes your baby, so it's unlikely that you'll ever let it go. But how many folks in this group are really thinking about following an entrepreneurship path or already entrepreneurs? We could do like a thumbs up reaction or something like that, so I could take a look. All right, I got a real thumbs up over there. Okay, good. I got a medium by Andrew. He was in the middle here. Maybe Ricky said maybe. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you guys are testing it out because it's very difficult. But I will say you could start a business with very little money. I mean, we've seen folks turn $3,000 into millions of dollars in revenue. And it's really just a mixture of that of hard work and sometimes a little bit of luck to be able to find that right mix. But I'll talk a little bit about Accessity. Accessity, formerly Acción San Diego. We've been in the San Diego community for 27 years now, I believe, and we are a micro lender. A micro lender sounds exactly what that sounds like, right? We do small loans, and that definition of micro is kind of all over the place, right? Some people think it's below 10,000, some is below 50,000, and some even up to like 100,000. And so the kind of the standard definition is loans that are $50,000 or less are considered micro loans in the small business community. And the concept of micro lending started actually in India. I don't know if you guys heard of Muhammad Yunus, but he started the true micro lending concept, which is more of a community sort of lending process where the group, let's say these are mostly women, right, in developing countries, the group, let's say of 8 to 10 women, put money together to start a fund, or actually the bank, Grameen Bank, starts a fund and gives a woman money for a loan. So, and that at that time it was either simple things, buying a goat, right, to sell in the market, or buying a chicken to sell eggs at the market, or buying seeds to create vegetables or whatever they want to sell in the market. Basket weaving, all kinds of stuff, anything that's going to bring income into the household. And the reason they really wanted to focus on women was because in developing countries, as women aren't the breadwinners of the home. They're not independent. It's usually the man that is providing, and so they want to provide independence and ability to provide for themselves and their families in those households. And so the way it started is that you actually would get you would pay your loan back as a group, small amounts, right? We're talking about 10 cents, 25 cents, a dollar on a weekly basis, and then those funds that are being repaid back goes to each woman as the fund gets bigger and bigger, and as they repay it back, it goes to the next person, and hopefully they build their revenue source so they could be self-sustainable. And it worked extremely well. And a big concept of that is the community aspect of it, right? If a woman didn't pay, that means the next person wasn't getting their loan, and so there's this social pressure and this community pressure to make sure you're being accountable to yourself. And it worked. They had over 99% repayment rate. People paid their loans, and they created real sustainability. And so we tried to bring that concept over to the U.S., but obviously we have a different infrastructure. These aren't small rural villages that everybody knows everybody. I mean, somebody can move up and go to another state at any point in time. So it's a different concept. And so we try to build an infrastructure that was within the norms of the U.S., but also with the flexibility to be able to give people opportunities that historically don't have those opportunities. And so, the way we build that is, the way that we reach people, we market and we're out in the community, meeting people where they're at, right? We're in the communities that people want to start the business or live or work. It's not this mass marketing sort of infrastructure where get fast money now, right? And you click on the link and then you're in a predatory loan. That's not the way we work. And so it's really building that flexibility to be able to give folks that won't be able to get financing anywhere else fair sort of price lending. Is not going to be your 3%, 4%, 5% money, because it's not the most secure sort of financing, but it's also not predatory to the point where you're becoming usurious to what you're charging for your lending. So flexible credit requirements, flexible income requirements, time and business requirements, none exist. So you could be a complete startup with a business plan in hand and we might fund your business. And that's why we all work together so closely, because, you know, Alex could be housing someone in their incubator. He's working with them, might send them to the SBDC for help on a business plan. And then they're going to come to us or to Miriam to get some financing. And so that's how that life cycle works. And again, we offer loans anywhere from as low as $300 all the way up to $100,000. And you might ask yourself, well, what the heck can I do with $300? Well, I've seen a lot of people do a lot of things with $300. You know, we help folks. We help folks that the tamalero that sells food on the street corner, the guy that needs a bunch of flowers to sell them on the corner, the swap meet vendor, the farmer's market vendor, the person that has an event coming up that is going to launch them into a client base. And so, you know, building a website, you know, they might, you know, go to Fiverr and find somebody overseas that builds a website for them for $500. They just don't have that money that's going to start an e-commerce site for them. So there's a lot of things that people don't really think about that you could do a lot with a small amount of capital. And we find that the folks that start the smallest and grow step by step, like Alex said, are the ones that have the most success, because, you know, you're not taking this huge risk that if you fail, you're hurt for life, right? You're hurt forever. You're going to file BK and you're going to do all these things. That stuff is scary, right? And that's probably why a lot of people don't go into entrepreneurship. But if you could, you know, be a student and have a job that pays the bills and take a small risk, you know, a $2,000-3,000 risk to potentially start a business that could grow into something substantial, that's more realistic, right? And that's what we specialize in. And one of my colleagues told me a stat the other day that I thought was amazing. You probably heard the stat that 80% of small businesses fail within their first 2 years of business, right? And this pandemic probably didn't help a bunch, but we did a study on our entrepreneurs, and 80% of our clients continue to be in business after 2 years. And I thought that was amazing. I couldn't believe that, but you know, it's probably a multitude of things. You know, we're working with folks that know these resources are out there. We're working with folks that are prepared, right? That are working with these other groups like the SBDC and SCORE and Connect All to really think about what it takes to be an entrepreneur and do things the right way in limiting mistakes, because mistakes are gonna kill your business. And so the more education you have, the more resources you have, the more support systems that you have, the more likelihood of your success. And so all of these people that are here today are absolutely free. They don't cost a dime to talk to them or to use their services. And so I think it's important that as future entrepreneurs or young leaders, you share those resources, not only for yourself, but whoever you know that might need those resources. Because one of the challenges that we all have as nonprofits is that we don't have multi-million-dollar budgets to spend all this money on marketing. It's really word of mouth and people understanding that we're out here in the community that really helps us. And so I'm happy to answer any questions about specifics about our program. But yeah, hopefully you learned a lot about what's out there, so you could at least not feel like you're alone when you're going through your entrepreneurship journey.
Great, thanks, Robert. Thanks for all that input. Yeah, like Robert mentioned, they do smaller loans and they don't have a minimum credit or FICO score. They don't have a minimum time in business, so they're a lot more flexible when it comes to lending, you know, to entrepreneurs and so forth. Well, thank you all for your wisdom, for your input. We've gotten a few questions in the chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and start reading them. The first one is by Thomas. It says, "Hi, my question is, I'm a permanent resident in California, and the idea of opening my own business in a different country is daunting. Can the organization help with people like myself unsure of going about how to do that?" Who wants to take that on?
What was the question again?
Well, basically, he's a permanent resident,
Mhm.
so he's not a U.S. citizen, so he's sort of thinking about opening a business. So he's just asking, like, are there any resources out there that can help them? I think Joe,
Yeah, I mean,
that would fall under. I'm sorry, Robert, you were going to say something?
yeah, I was gonna say, I think all of us could help in that sense. I mean, I know, one of the challenges of being new to the country, and I failed to mention this during my presentation. I think one of the populations that we help is the immigrant population here in the United States, right? And it's challenging because I think there's this misconception that if I'm a permanent resident or don't have a legal status here in the United States, and these resources are off limits, and that's just not true. A lot of these resources were able to help. In this particular situation, it's a permanent resident or a resident, which is fine. But even if there isn't a legal status, or is it just someone that has an ITIN, I know our organization could help still, and I'm sure the SBDC could help as well. I think Miriam works a little bit more with the federal government, so I'll let her answer that piece. But I think for the most part, where all resources is available for that status or any other status.
Yeah, with CDC, we help permanent residents, we help U.S. citizens, and then we do help people that have a working permit or a working visa, should I say. And just for the people that have a working visa, the term of the loan would just be as long as your visa. So they're usually like 4 or 7 years old. So that would be your term. So we wouldn't be able to offer you a 10-year term, but we might still be able to help you if you qualify.
Great.
Just want to follow up on that one. Yeah, we do have a whole department that can help you with that. There are specific process and procedures you have to follow. There are permits you are required to obtain. And be aware, I strongly encourage you to come and talk to us before you open the business, just because they have certain, mainly, and I'm sure they will tell you this over and over, it's the taxes you have to pay. So you got to be careful with that. Some people believe that the IRS stops at the border, and it really doesn't. So just come and talk to us. We have literally a whole department that can help you to do e-commerce, which becomes global. It's not longer just once to get at the border. The requirements, if you're going to do it here in the city, whether you're going to do them physical or you're going to just do with a combination of e-commerce or physical. So definitely contact the SBDC. We have a department that can help you with all the requirements.
Great, thanks. The next question is from Mohammed. It says, I have a question for Mr. Cedeno. How does the SBDC work with SaaS, SaaS, startup, software as a service?
Right, so we have a department, like I was mentioning before, we have different locations throughout the county. We have different specialties. If you're going to start with that process, we have one that is located in house at USD, University of San Diego. They will take you in. They will have the same process. And then we have people that are in that field, and they have all aspects of it. So all you have to do is go to the SBDC, tell us what is that you need to, and we'll ensure to direct you to that particular advisor to assist you. It doesn't cost you nothing, literally. So just make the effort, submit the request, or give us a call, and we have somebody that can answer those specific questions.
Great, thank you, Joe. The other question is for Alex, is from Thomas. Is the Accelerator program only based in San Diego, or is it also applicable in LA? Because we have a lot of students from outside of San Diego too.
Yeah, so our particular program is specifically in the city of San Diego, primarily just because of the way that our funding is structured. So it came down from the federal government for the city of San Diego. And so we have some pretty rigid restrictions with respect to who can actually come into the Accelerator program. But what I would say that also, though, is that there's some fantastic programs that are all around, right? So kind of to sort of Robert's point before, we were saying that all of these things are kind of really interconnected in a lot of ways. And most of the places that I've been around that are sort of doing small business startups, and like they're very much interconnected. So you can find whether it's a SBDC, SBA, SCORE, a CDC, like if you start sort of engaging with some of those organizations, my guess is you will likely find other accelerator programs that potentially could be helpful for you in the sort of the LA area.
Yeah, and LA is the 800-pound gorilla, right? Like there's so many organizations out there. I still remember, when I started working in this field, there was 2 SBDCs here in San Diego, and LA had like 15. So I mean, now we have 8, but I'm sure LA has like 20 or 20 some. Like they have a lot of organizations. Another question for Alex. This is from Andrew. What are the main businesses and which ones are the most passionate about specifically? So I guess what are the main businesses that you receive at the Accelerator? And also it says, how is the pandemic affecting this program in these hectic times?
So I think I'll answer the second question first, and then I'll go back to the first one about sort of the types of businesses. So the pandemic, like in a lot of other cases, for a lot of sort of areas, we literally just reopened our space back up. We left in March of 2020, said we'd be back in 2 weeks, and then that turned into about 18 months. So that's been, I think, the largest change has been everything that we do now is virtual, is online, workshops, classes. People are just, like I said, starting to be able to come back into the space. I think having to be intentional about communicating and connecting with people. Before, we would just have like weekly workshops and family style meals, and you would have random people that were just doing business with companies and stuff to connect people together. And that obviously kind of went away when people are sort of working out of their homes and are not able to just kind of bump into somebody while going to get a cup of coffee. So I think that was one of the larger challenges. A lot of our companies actually, because of, and this is a great example of us sort of partnering with organizations that, do a lot of the help. Like with SBDC, we had like some separate sessions where advisors would come in and talk to people about getting their financials in order and taking care of things. And like when deadlines were coming up for some of the grants and loans and loan programs that were coming out right around the pandemic. So quite a few of our companies actually were able to secure funding loans and did pretty well throughout kind of the pandemic by getting some of that support because they were on top of it, right? And that I attribute directly to our relationship with SBDC and knowing what was coming up, and they, did an amazing job of working with companies and teams to get them what they needed to do to actually be able to apply for some of those things. Second part of the question, I think, or first part, I guess, was what kinds of businesses? So when I say we literally have everything, we literally have everything, from tech companies to companies that are professional services. I would say probably the most that we have are probably more in the professional services space than anything else. But that professional service, everything consulting and STEM education to people who are architects, right? So.
Which, by the way, I mean, the businesses that, or some of the businesses that I've seen in my career that are very profitable, very successful, are professional services. So, I mean, CPAs, attorneys, marketing consultants, things like that. So, definitely a good way to go.
So, to Alex. You seem real community driven. So what I was asking, specifically, are what programs are like you most passionate about? Like when someone brings you a business or someone brings you an idea, what really sparks that fire for you?
That's a great question. I don't know if I've ever really kind of thought about it in that way. I mean, certainly, there's always a soft spot in my heart for ed tech, only because I spent a lot of time in ed tech. So when I hear people have like companies that are focused on like improving education, specifically education for areas that are underserved or schools that are sort of understaffed, like that part to me is like always really interesting. But I think what I've seen, and I'd be curious to find for other people, like there's a ton of businesses that are coming up in sort of this mold of like social impact and social innovation, even if they aren't directly a company that says that they're a social impact company. most of the founders that we have coming in here, they have an idea of like wanting to improve the world in some kind of way through the function of their business. And sometimes it's not completely related. I'll give a very quick example, then I'll go because I know if you have questions. We had a founder who was doing sort of pie kits, right? And so making pie kits, and so that people would be able to get them shipped to them, and they could bake pies at home, and it had, you know, all the ingredients, everything like that. But a key component of the reason why they wanted to scale was that they wanted to be able to hire individuals who had either recently incarcerated or had been incarcerated in their past, right? And that was really the interesting driving factor behind it, because you think about pie kits and you're like, what does that have to do with trying to help individuals who, you know, sometimes have trouble finding employment, right? Like, but that was the thing, was like, the person wanted to create a business to be able to serve that need. And this was the idea that came up that they were also passionate about to be able to do. So I think a lot of the social impact businesses also are pretty cool to me.
Great, thanks, Alex. Miriam, here's a question for you. It says, also from Andrew, it says, with the loans, do you apply the APR rates, and how does the repayment plan work?
Well, it's the amortization is somewhat, if you think of a home, so it's amortized in 10 years. There's no prepayment penalty, and it's a simple loan. So what that means is, if you borrow $300,000, actually $250,000, let's say you borrow, and then you're ready to pay it off in 3 years instead of 10, all you owe to us is the balance of that, you know, $250,000 that you borrowed. So you don't owe, you know, any other interest or anything of that sort. So it's just a simple loan that's amortized in 10 years. It's a monthly payment. I think it's due the beginning of the month. And yeah, that was the question, right? I just wanted to know if I can payment. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Miriam.
Yeah.
Another question from Thomas is this: as an immigrant, I struggle with having an established credit score for a loan. Is there a way to help with this scenario?
Yes, I'll let you take that one. We have partnered with the I believe is the IRC. They provide not just assistance with this, immigrants coming into the country with all the aspects literally of it. They also provide you with financial assistance to grow that credit score. So it's called IRC San Diego. You can type that in, make the appointment. It will be sort of the same process. You have to kind of put information on what is that you need to. And they are very, they're very tactical. Not tactical is the wrong word. They're very attention to detail because they are also aware that for certain cultures, you are not allowed to implement interest rate. So they have those programs as long as you qualify for them. So it's called IRC San Diego. It's the same thing, just request what you need to, and they're not only going to help you to build that credit that you need to, but also going to facilitate with the capital that you need to. Now, there are limitations on how much capital they can give you, but it'll be enough for you to start building that credit score that you need to go to see Robert or Miriam.
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say real quickly and interject that it's kind of funny because we do have a minimum 620 credit score, but then also if you are a U.S. citizen or you're a permanent resident, or let's say you have a working visa and you have no credit, no credit is better than bad credit. So we would actually still be able to help you if you have no credit established. I've done loans like that.
Nice. Another question was, it says, these are very helpful and successful individuals. The question is for me, how did Eddie decide where to start and who to begin this process with? I've been in this industry for more than 20 years, and I sort of know what are the organizations that are really, making a difference in the community. So that's why I invited, Accessity, CDC, SBDC, and Connect All. Like I feel like these are all very good organizations that a lot of people don't know that exist. For Robert, here's a question: what businesses does he see the most success, and what is his best educated guess where the people will find most success during this pandemic?
So, like I said during my part of the presentation, you know, the businesses that we see the most success with are the ones that start small and grow at a general pace, right? The bigger risk you take, the harder the fall could be, and the harder the challenges could be to keep up when things don't go your way. But I'm personally a big fan of service businesses because there's limited overhead requirements, right? And what I mean by a service business could be, you know, a barber, an accountant, a massage therapist. So you're offering a service or a skill that people are willing to pay for your business, and those are great because they don't really require anything, right? You don't have to have inventory. You don't have to have, maybe you do have some equipment, but usually it's limited equipment. You know, I was working with a woman yesterday that does lashes, right? She does lashes and she charges, I don't know, like $200 for a set of lashes, and you know, she buys, yeah, she buys like $300 worth of inventory that lasts her like 3 months. And so can you imagine the margin on that? It's just a service, is really just your time. And so you know, service businesses are fantastic. And then businesses, usually I prefer B to C businesses. What I mean to that is business to consumer. And the reason business to consumer is a lot better is because you get instant income, right? It's a point and sell sort of transaction, right? So you want something, I have it, you buy it, you pay me, and here's your item, right? That's immediate, right? And B2B businesses is the ones where we see the biggest challenges, right? Because you have usually receivables and you have an income gap, right? Construction, very challenging business. Cleaning services, very challenging business. Why? Because I have to wait 30, 60, 90 days to get paid. Oh, but I have expenses on a weekly basis, payroll on a monthly basis, rent, inventory, whatever I need to find a way to cover that gap. And that's when businesses get in trouble. And unless you have a good amount of working capital or a very big credit line, those businesses are the most challenging that we see out there. So that's what I would answer to that question.
Thank you, Robert. The next question says, "Hi, my question is as follows: in the case that I own an established real estate development firm and architecture company overseas, Pakistan, with associated offices in Dubai, how would you suggest I go about raising capital through equity financing for development projects? Provide the firm is a market leader, an international renowned award-winning firm. Our range of services include turnkey solutions, interior design solutions, architectural design solutions, and project management in both residential and commercial. Would you suggest angel investors, venture capitalists? What would be the best way to approach this?"
So just to clarify, so the company is not in the States, the company is outside the United States?
Correct, in Pakistan, and I think they want to they want to start operations in the U.S.
Okay, so they want to bring the same idea into the States, or they want to send money to?
No, you know what? It doesn't say anything about opening operations in the state. I think they're just looking for capital to grow in Pakistan and Dubai, and so forth.
And so one of the things, I used to work in that kind of industry. So every single entity that works in the financial industry is two things. One is that you need to minimize the risk. So the investment that you put in, it has to have a minimal risk output as possible. And the second thing is that you need to have that investment to be returned with a percentage on top. It's the very simple things. Usually when you do internationally, most likely you want to have entities that can have a substantial amount of already capital invested in those entities, whether they're governmentals or they are already with established businesses per se, usually real estate, like hotels, things of that nature. So my advice in this particular area, because of what is happening right now in the world, I will say probably go start visiting mutual funds. And the way you want to go about it, not go through the United States, but go through the government of Pakistan to see what relationship they have already established. That way you can go ahead and start working the other way around. Because usually investors will come back and say, well, okay, that's fine. We'll give you the money. What is the return? Is there anything you have established? And because they have metrics and measurements in which they can say, well, the investment overall is not going to reproduce what we require, then the investment is going to go away. But if you have governmental backing, that's when the capital start emerging. So I used to work with a couple of mutual companies in which we used to have quite a bit of analytics done to see the returns of investments. And usually they do it by quarters. So they will say, if we have a point or 2 points per quarter, over time we have a beta over, 1, which your return will be more significant in a 10, 15 to 30 year long-term investment. So once again, large mutual fund companies, they already have relationships with those entities and go the other way around, go through what they have government already established. And usually that's how we funded quite a bit of the mutual fund used to work. We funded quite a bit of resorts in Cancun. They funded quite a bit of resorts in the Bahamas and some of in Spain. But once again, they usually have to work through the governmental channels to make that happen. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure.
There's organizations that do venture capital and like angel investors. Tech Coast Angels come to mind. They're here in San Diego and they're also up in LA. Venture capital firms, there's a lot, but they're very picky. They venture capitalists are looking for the next Google, the next Facebook, the next cure for Parkinson's disease or whatever. I mean, they're very aggressive in that sense, but they also only fund projects that are probably more than $1 million. So it's high risk, but high return as well. And then venture capitalists are a little bit more flexible, but I would also reach out to them and see if they have events and see what they have to say. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to get funding like that because they're very picky, and they're that's the true Shark Tank in the real world. Yoshika says, where would the best place to brainstorm business ideas? Where would that be?
Alex has the nicest office in all of San Diego, so I would go there just to sit there because it's so cool.
Get some coffee.
It is beautiful. I concur.
It's a great place. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you can always swing by here. You can do some brainstorming. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you meant sort of a physical place or a specific kind of thing, but I think there's a couple different tools that are really helpful for folks as they're going through stuff. There's a company called Strategizer that has a whole ton of like business and startup tools and stuff around sort of experiments. And if you haven't done before, sort of like the business model canvas and like, I guess my big thing would just be to just talk to everyone about what it is that you're trying to do, and just keep doing that. I know sometimes people get a little bit weary because they're like, well, folks are going to steal my idea or they're going to be a challenge. I often say that if you've told somebody about an idea, they weren't planning on executing on it, and they take your idea from that day and then they build a company before you, you are in trouble anyway, right? Like, because most of the times people actually they have no interest in the thing that you might think is like amazing. And I'll tell a quick anecdote. There was an entrepreneur who I was working with, and this is pre-COVID times. We met for a coffee, and he was talking, and he he had a sort of doing stuff with microbiomes, right? And so all these different kinds of things. And he was telling me, and I was like, okay, well, can you explain it a little bit? And he looks around and he like kind of leans in and he's like telling me this stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter if I could make a bunch of money in microbiomes. And for those that don't necessarily know what that is, it's when, they take stuff from your gut and then they kind of store it. And so they can help you with different kinds of food issues. I have no desire to do anything there. So if he told me proprietary stuff, it doesn't actually matter because I'm not going to go and do anything with it. And by and large, most people are like that. So go tell people your idea. And then people will give you feedback about, okay, well, that sounds interesting. That doesn't sound interesting. I don't understand how that sounds. Or, and that's actually, the best way to brainstorm is just to throw it out and get feedback from people about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can always, ask your friends and family, what do you think? Would you buy this? Would you hire me for this? That's always good feedback. Next question from Sherelle. It says, do you believe entrepreneurship is an innate quality or you can learn to be one? And also another question from her as well. How do we create a business name and EIN? If I want to change it, how easy or challenging would this be? How much time should one spend on a business name? Not a lot, but I'll let the panelists talk about that.
Let's talk about Apple. I would say not a lot of time. I tell people this all the time, and my started a business and he took like months trying to figure out the name. I'm like, honey, no.
Just do it.
You are take the business, just pick a name and go with it.
Yeah, the process to get that information is very quickly. And it's very simple. So don't, the biggest thing is, as the questions coming in, you guys see a pattern is what's the next big thing? What is the next thing? The next big thing is going to come from you, whatever it is. There was a guy who said, everybody needs to have a computer in their house. Well, there's no market for it. I don't know, this company's called Apple and he make the market. So I said, don't dwell too much on that and just put your ideas on paper. You never know what that's going to take you. They thought that you can never fit in over 1,000 songs in a little piece of thing. I have 5,000 songs in this thing now. I can go run it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur, put that idea on paper. Their business plans, there are a bunch of tools out there. Alex mentioned a lot of those, and just work on it. Don't be afraid. The biggest things you're going to have over and over that I experienced is failure. I have failed over and over, and I learned on what not to do. That did not work out, great. Let's go try something else. That didn't work out, great. Okay, now I know what not to do twice or something else.
When they asked the Walmart executive why he's so much more successful than Target, he just said, I have tried and failed way many more times than their executive has.
Most people who want to do things, they just
go for it.
Robert, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I always think about the FedEx CEO. His name's escaping my mind right now, but he keeps his business school paper, which he failed, on his wall, because the professor told that he had this idea of logistics and the more efficient ways to transport things. And the professor wrote on his paper, have you ever heard of the United States Postal Service? Right. And so he keeps that on his wall to this day as a reminder that, not all ideas are going to be accepted and understood. Right. And but I will say, there is that concept, but I will also say that fundamentals don't change a lot when it comes to businesses. Right. At the end of the day, you have to be profitable. That's the point of business. And it has to be something that people want, right? And people are willing to pay for. But I will say that, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be an invention. It doesn't have to be the next big thing. It doesn't have to be, I think we're always looking for the unicorn and the most scalable sort of thing. But at the end of the day, if you want to be successful, there's only so much you need to be successful and to provide for your families or whoever it needs to be, even in a comfortable life. And so I would say sometimes the smallest, simplest ideas are fine. Our world is changing quite a bit where, it used to be about location for a restaurant, right? And nowadays with the internet and Yelp and Instagram and all that stuff, people will find you as long as you have good food and or maybe a cool place where people want to take a picture in front of, right? Or an experience. And so, I think that every concept, every business, whether old or new, could be slightly modified to make you stand out and make you be different. And so I encourage, folks to not only think of the grand slam and the world changing sort of aspects, but you can also think simpler and be just as successful. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I 1,000% agree with everything that the Robert was saying and the other analysts. Just building a better mousetrap sometimes is an amazing thing, right? Just got a mousetrap and somebody thought about, oh, you know what? People don't like to get rid of the mouse, so I make it a sticky trap. And both of those individuals who make those companies are worth a lot of money, right? But they didn't create something, off the wall and different. It's just an interesting kind of thing. So when you look around, you can always see different kinds of things. I often tell people, the person that makes the stapler and the staples and the pen on your desk and the Post-its and the cord that has the electricity that comes through it. Like there's a lot of very basic things that people do and make a lot of money off of. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So the last question we have to answer is the whether or not an entrepreneur can be learned or innate. What do you guys think?
That's the question. I couldn't remember the first part of that question. For me, that's very difficult. That's a very difficult question because I think there is personality types that could do well as an entrepreneur because there's a lot of pressure. You may have to pivot and kind of think on your feet and be able to roll with the punches. I mean, those are things that are personality driven. But I also think there are also other personality types that could be successful entrepreneurs for different reasons, right? And look, sometimes you're successful because you invent something or you build a better mousetrap or you just have amazing food, whatever that is. Sometimes you're successful because of that. Sometimes you're successful because you're just a great business person, right? I have businesses where I don't know the first thing about doing the business, but it's successful because I'm an operations guy and I made it efficient so it could be successful, right? And again, I don't have the skill to do, for example, I have a personal training business. I mean, look at me, I'm not a personal trainer by any means, right? And it's like, but what I thought about was, what are the challenges that people hate about personal training? They hate working out in front of other people. They hate the transaction piece of it, like having to renew, not renew. They have having to cancel and reschedule. So what I did is I built an infrastructure that is all self-service. You pay online, you schedule online, it sends you a reminder, and it's just one-on-one with you and a person. And it's super simple. And it cost me like $2,000 to build it. And it does really well, right? And I don't know the first thing about personal training, but I know that was a problem and I knew how to build a solution for it. And so again, I think there's different sort of skill sets and different mentalities that as long as you fit in the right piece and figure out, you can be successful no matter what type of personality type you have.
Great. Well, thanks. Thank you to all the panelists. I think we ran out of time. It's 3:30 already. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and end the event. But for those students that are here for extra credit, I do get a transcript at the end of the event, and I will see how long you were at the event and go off of that. But thank you, Alex. Thank you, Joel, Miriam, Robert, for your time, for your valuable feedback and insight into what works in the business world. This will be recorded and it will be uploaded to our Mesa website. So with that, again, thank you very much and hope you guys have a good rest of the week.
Thank you. Not a problem.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.